Canada's new Prime Minister signed an order Friday to eliminate the consumer carbon tax, a move Mark Carney says will make a difference for hard-pressed Canadians. But if you were hoping to see it translate to savings at the grocery store, you might be disappointed. My guest today says it'll likely do nothing to stop food prices from rising. Sylvain Charlebois, a professor and director at Agri-Foods Lab at Dalhousie University, joins me now to explain. Sylvain, good to speak with you.
Nice to speak with you as well.
I know when this announcement was made, many of us who are struggling under the current high cost of living were feeling a bit optimistic that change was coming. So tell me, why won't this apply to food affordability?
Well, basically, the measures that are being implemented by Mr. Carney aren't going to be addressing the one part that really is impacting food security and food affordability in Canada, and that's really the entire supply chain. So right now, we're looking at the consumer end of the carbon tax. So at the pump, you're likely going to see a difference. But at the grocery store, what's happening right now is that you're seeing wholesale food prices go up significantly, which is making our entire sector less competitive compared to other sectors around the world. And so that would probably invite grocers like Sobeys, Loblaw, Metro, Costco, Walmart to import more food, because the food that we actually produce in Canada is not as competitive as what we would find elsewhere. And that's really the big concern that most people have in the food industry.
So tell me a bit about how it stands now. How does the carbon tax impact the cost of food, all the way till it gets to the grocery store shelves?
So every node of the supply chain has to pay a carbon tax. Of course, there are different programs to support farmers, say, when they pay a carbon tax. The problem is that it doesn't matter if we have programs to support certain nodes, they still have to charge more. And so by the time, say, the cost of doing something which is worth $100,000 at farm gate ends up, say, in retail, that $100,000 becomes a $186,000 due to the carbon tax and taxes, the GST applied on the carbon tax as well. And most people don't realize that, but the effect of the carbon tax basically compounds throughout the supply chain, which is really hurting most businesses and impacting the sector's competitiveness.
While Carney is doing away with the consumer part of the carbon tax, he's hinted that he wants to strengthen the industrial carbon tax. What could that do to prices? Are you expecting to see prices rise even more if that happens?
Well, I mean, it really depends. It's always tough to correlate the carbon tax policy with food prices at retail, because so many things can actually impact retail prices. The weather, you and I, our behavior can actually impact food prices, loss leaders, promotions, and things like that. So it's always hard to do that. So that's why you always have to look at wholesale prices. But when you look at wholesale prices in Canada, food wholesale prices, that's when you realize that prices have actually gone way up compared to, say, the United States, where things have remained quite competitive, and they don't have a federal carbon tax over there. So that's certainly a concern that we have. Of course, there's the tariff war happening, but besides that, really what's going on right now is that we do have a policy that is compromising our ability to feed ourselves, essentially.
Interesting to see how this all shakes out. Sylvain, thank you so much for your insight into this. It was great speaking with you.
My pleasure.